This is an Eye on Annapolis special update.
We're sitting here high atop, I guess it's the 30-yard line at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, and we're here with Bill Gibbons, who is, now this is a fancy title, this is the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Operations and Championships. How are you?
Good, John. How are you doing today?
Good. That is a long title there.
It is. As I was saying, I just tell people I'm the ops guy.
He makes it work. With Navy football coming on to us really soon, within the next couple days, actually. Wanted to touch base with you and find out what we need to know about Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, as well as, what you do, how to have it enjoy the game, what the games are, and everything else. And for those that aren't aware, August 31st at 3:30 is the opening game here at home against Holy Cross.
That's correct. 10 days and counting. We can't believe just how fast the summer has spun through as we get through graduation at the end of May, commissioning day here at the stadium, and we get through that event and we start focusing on the first game of the year, which this year is the Holy Cross game on August 31st. And we've got a lot of work that we do at the stadium. We were talking earlier, it's a 12-month-a-year facility that gets used, and we do a lot of maintenance work in those 90 days that we have to get ready for the home opener. And we are wrapping up a lot of things we've done this summer, again, getting ready for next Saturday. As you can see, the football field is beginning to take shape with the lines and hash marks and some of the logos. And
well, I was down there for the Fan Fest, and that's a whole new turf.
Yes, went in this past June. It's a field turf product. It replaces the previous field turf that we had in there for 8 years, and we're really excited about it. Players and the coaches are excited about it, and we're looking forward to the upcoming season with it.
Well, it is. Well, there are 3 big games this season for me. I mean, you've got Air Force, which is always huge, which is just sort of the second most important game of the year, I think, aside of Army-Navy.
Oh, absolutely. When that game, it's in Annapolis every other year, it will be our biggest crowd of the year. There'll be a lot of VVIPs here. It's for Air Force, our proximity to the Pentagon. Any Air Force 1-star and up that's assigned to the Pentagon will be here. So a lot of, and same thing from the Navy side. So a lot of military brass here. We'll have a number of cadets here that get flown out there. D&B will be here and others. And it's just a great Saturday. That first Saturday in October, we're into true fall weather, and it's just a great day for football. And we've been fortunate the last few years to have beaten them here and hope to continue that trend. Always a tough game, doesn't it?
It's never a given. It's never
absolutely
a given.
Not. Always a good game.
And despite Army's win in the Army-Navy games the last several years, I mean, it's never a given on that one either.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But 2 of the other ones that I'm also looking forward to is October 26th, you've got Tulane, which is the homecoming game here, which is, again, always a big crowd. It's very, very festive and everything else. You've got all the different classes that come back for the reunions, even though there are reunions every single game, it seems. And then the SMU game, which wraps up the final home game of the season on the 23rd.
Hopefully we are still in the running to play in and host the AAC championship game, which could be here in Annapolis that first Saturday in December if we win the West Division and have a better record than the East. But our first 2 years in the league, it went down to the final home game in that Saturday in November to determine who would host. The first year, Houston beat us in Houston, and they hosted, but had we won that game, we would have hosted it. The next year, I believe we beat SMU that same weekend, that same Saturday down in Dallas, and then we were playing that game here, the AAC championship game here, the next Saturday. So it more than likely will go down the wire, and hopefully by that SMU game, we're still in the mix. Another wrinkle with being in a conference, typically we haven't had home games that late in November.
Right.
But it's
that would make for a tough couple of weeks between SMU. You get a playoff game there or a championship game there in the middle, and then you follow that right up with Army Navy. I remember that a couple of years ago it was like, okay, we're working our butts off.
It's a tough 3 to 4 weeks.
It is. Well, I'll tell you, anybody that wants to get tickets, you can still get tickets at navysports.com. They range from about $30 for standing room only for adults to a $45 reserve seats, $55. I think it's a little bit more for Air Force game just because it's such a high profile game. Probably some of the best entertainment you can get. I mean, I don't even want to call it entertainment, but the competition. And if you're listening to this and you have never seen the pomp and circumstance, the march on, the brigade of midshipmen coming on, and what happens at a Navy football game, you're missing something.
I tell my friends that aren't from Annapolis, I've been in the business for 25 years or more, and I've worked at Arizona State, and I've worked at LSU, and I've been around Division I college football all my career. But there's really nothing as special as a fall Saturday in Annapolis for a home football game. Absolutely. You mentioned the march on. That never gets tired. I always enjoy seeing that. The flyover, all the pomp and circumstance never gets old. And it is, if you've not been to a Navy football game, or if you haven't been in quite a while, do yourself a favor and come out and see it.
Without a doubt. One of my favorite moments here was, and I can't remember which team it was, but I was down on the field. The brigade had already come in, standing over there on the visitor side, and the opposing team was there, and all of a sudden they did the flyover, and there's two football players look and go, shit, they got jets. And it was just such a great moment.
It is, and naval aviation is nothing better than naval aviation and the FA-18s that we get for our flyovers, and quite frequently they're academy grads and occasionally a former football player or student athlete in the mix as well. So It's always great to have those squadrons from Norfolk come up and do the flyover.
Absolutely. Well, there is a big change for the policies here at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium this year, and we spoke about it a little bit during the Fun Fest Day, in that you're changing up your bag policy.
Yes, we are going to a clear bag policy, and this is a policy that the NFL stadiums implemented probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. They've been doing that. If you've gone to an NFL game, most of the Major League Baseball stadiums and NBA arenas have implemented that as well. And if you're a Navy fan, and if you've gone to Army-Navy football over the last 5 or 6 years, you're familiar with it, or any of the games that we played in Baltimore, or even when we played Notre Dame and FedEx, that's the policy in place. Our previous policy is we allowed bags that were 12 by 12 by 12 or smaller. Didn't matter whether it was a purse, backpack, camera case, things like that. And now we're going to a policy where it's got to be a 12 by 12 by 6 clear bag of any kind, or smaller. What we tell people, I've got a gallon Ziploc freezer bag. You can use this just as long as it's 12 by 12 by 6 or smaller, and it's clear. It can be anything. This one has our logo on it. Does not have to have a logo on it. Could have the Eagles logo on it, or the Ravens logo. It does not matter. But
just not Army logo.
Just not Army logo. But we do allow. We make special exceptions. We get a lot of, John, you've been to our games. We get a lot of families, a lot of young families come out with infants or young children. So we will allow diaper bags. We'll search those at the gate. Tag those. If so, you can come out. You can still bring the young children out. You see a lot of them on the grass hill on game days, and medically necessary bags.
Sure.
Diabetics, come to mind, or any medically necessary bag where you've got to bring a bag in. Perhaps it's got to be a cooler to keep your meds cool, or any number
oxygen, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we'll search those at the gates, and we'll allow those as well. We want to make this as fan friendly as possible, but it's the next level of security that we need to implement here in Annapolis. That again is the standard at the professional level, and most of the schools that we play at, I would say more than half of the AAC have implemented that, and then across the Division I landscape. And again, in the current world environment that we're in, with the situations that happen, it seems like unfortunately weekly now in El Paso or Dayton or wherever. Our main focus is to continue to provide a safe and secure environment for our patrons, and we feel that this is the next step.
Sure. And I imagine it probably also helps your security and getting crowds through to be able to look in through and see what's in the bag, as opposed to opening up a one that you can't see in and looking and poking around.
It's our security staff, we use Safe Management out of Baltimore. They've got several NFL accounts, including the Ravens, and they do the Super Bowl every year. They'll tell you that a bag check into a backpack or a non-clear bag is not very efficient, because they're not going to do a deep dive into it. They just can't.
Right.
But clear bags help with that, and it does speed up the process at the gates, getting people in. And in fact, the Military Bowl the last 2 years here has implemented a clear bag policy. So we've done it already in Annapolis for the last 2 military bowls.
Question for you, though. I mean, we hear all the time, like at BWI, that TSA is snagging guns and stuff like that at checkpoints. Have you found contraband in the past? Or has that been a problem?
Not anything of a dangerous note. If the gate staff aren't happy, or had issues with it, they'll send the folks back to the car. Now, the interesting that you mentioned that is 2 out of every 4 years we have either the president or the vice president here. And the Secret Service mans the gates and the magnetometers there. And after every graduation, they'll bring a box up to me of things that people have turned in that wouldn't be allowed through security, but they didn't want to go back to the cars for whatever reason. And it's nothing out of note. It's usually, small scissors, corkscrews, Swiss Army knives, things of that nature that that can be used as weapons that the Secret Service won't allow.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's probably.
But we've not had, knock on wood, we've not had digging in a purse and then there's a small firearm or anything of that nature. We're also a high visibility event because we are the United States Naval Academy, and because we are unique. The service academies are unique that the entire student body is here for a game. We are a high visibility event. And so, again, another reason why we need to make sure that we're providing a safe and secure environment. Yeah, again, I mentioned our patrons, our ticket buyers, our guests, but also for our midshipmen. I mean, they are our most valuable asset at the Naval Academy.
Sure.
And
arguably one of the most valuable assets to everybody in America.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they're going out to defend us.
Without a doubt. So, again, because of who we are, we're naturally a high visibility event. But having said that, we're here in our operations center on a game day. We'll have Annapolis Police, Annapolis Fire, DHS. Quite often, a lot of times, Maryland DHS is in here. Annapolis OEM is in here. We've got all the assets that the Academy, that the city of Annapolis, that the Anne Arundel County, the state of Maryland, and quite often we've got federal law enforcement up here, NCIS, have to bear. We've got here on game, we do have here on game day, so we do have great resources here. But again, going back to the clear bag policy, you can't take anything for granted.
No, without a doubt. There were some other changes, too, that some actually were implemented last year and some actually, I think, 2 years ago. I mean, I know if you haven't been to the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium lately, they've got 2 matching gigantic scoreboards, Panavisions on both sides of the field now, which is an upgrade on the I'll say the Taylor Avenue side was the second one to come on.
Yeah, the Taylor Avenue side came on the year before last. It's been a great addition. The unique thing is that Taylor Avenue side board, south end board, is the same size as the one on the north end, but because it is so close to the field, it just seems larger. Yeah. And the definition, a resolution on those boards is great for a school of our magnitude in the American Athletic Conference. They are as good a video boards as anywhere.
Now, they used to have a captain's barbecue down here. Now, in the stadium, you've got 2 corners that have the superintendent's tent, which is the superintendent of the Naval Academy, and that's his invited guests that can be entertained during a game day. And then you used to have a captain's barbecue, and that's changed up a little bit last year, right?
Yes, it has. Last year, Admiral Carter, our old superintendent, only used his superintendent's tent once for the Memphis game, I believe it was. And so for the other 4 dates, we created the Anchor Club, which was an area where you could kind of like lounge outdoor furniture. We had a couple of widescreen TVs in there. We had bars and food options in there. And you could buy your way in, and you could either watch the game from there, and we sold beer and wine in there, or if you already had a ticket to the game, for another smaller fee, you could get in there for access for beer, food, and wine, and to watch the game from the corner of the stadium.
Okay, so you actually are, and that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. We don't sell beer typically in the concession stands here, and I know that obviously in the NFL, the stadiums, they do, and that most colleges are now some colleges are shifting to allowing alcohol being sold in there.
Yes, you see it every day in the news, this school or that school. So, we're not at that point yet. We were talking earlier, we do sell beer stadium-wide at the Military Bowl, but for Navy football, we are selling it to the public in one specific area. So going back to the superintendent's tent and the captain's barbecue, Admiral Buck, our new superintendent, will be entertaining his guests in the superintendent's tent all 6 games. So we are moving the Anchor Club over to the captain's barbecue tent. The captain's barbecue tent previously was for a fee. You could come in 2 hours prior to kick, and it was all you could eat and drink up through the march on and into kick. and watch everything from there. And then after kick, we shut it down. You had to go to your seats. So now we're combining the Captain's Barbecue function event with the Anchor Club. They're both moving into we're calling it the Anchor Club at the Captain's Barbecue tent.
Which is kind of on the Taylor Avenue and Round Boulevard corner.
Yeah, what we call the southeast corner. And you can go to the NavySports.com website. We've got all the information there. But now that function, instead of closing down at kick, will stay through the entire game.
Okay.
We'll be open the entire game, so you can watch the game there. We'll have the widescreen TVs over there, although, with the 2 video boards, you really don't need it. But we do have that as well. We'll have food options with our normal list of Captain's Barbecue caterers, and then we will have Cash Bar with beer and wine and others. And it's a great event. It's a great setup. It's a great area to watch the game. If you can come and go if you if you have a ticket in the stands and you want to sit with your friends or family.
Right.
You can't take alcohol out, but you can go in there.
Okay, so if I'm just sitting at my seat and I want to have a beer or a glass of wine or a cocktail or something like that, I do have an option.
Yes.
To do it here as opposed to going back and swinging out of that bottle I keep in the trunk of my car.
Absolutely. And we kicked the Anchor Club off last year, and it was very popular, immensely popular, and look forward to combining it with the Captain's Barbecue tent. So again, if you've not been to the stadium, these tents are in the corners of the stadium. They're right on top of the field. Great place to watch the game. Very popular place to watch the game. And again, John, as you were mentioning, if you want to get a beer some point in the game, you can buy in, go down, have a couple of beers, watch the game from there, then back to your seat.
And back to the seat. Fantastic. Now, the other thing, too, that a lot of people don't understand is that the government doesn't own this stadium. This is not federal property that we're on right now, right?
That is correct. The Naval Academy Athletic Association, who I work for, owns the 64-acre property. As we were talking earlier, the NAAA, as it was called, was spun off from the Academy back in the early 1900s as an effort to help take the burden of running an athletic department off of the Academy. And they became self-sufficient, and we are self-sufficient to this day. One of the things we tell people is that all these improvements that you see out here, you mentioned the 2 video boards, nothing was built with government dollars or with tax dollars or with appropriated funds. Everything that we've done out here, and in Chet Gladchuck's 20 years here as the athletic director, he's done a lot.
Beating up the alumni.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit.
Shaking down the money.
Alumni have helped, and the foundation, USNA Foundation, have helped. But everything that has happened out here has been self-generated and not a nickel of taxpayers' money. And that's one thing that we're very proud of, that we've paid as we've gone. We were talking about Army, West Point, and Air Force are both going to that model where the athletic department is its own 501c3. Army is, I think, completely there. Air Force has taken a little bit longer. But, the benefits of that is, we move at the speed of light. If we want to do something, we do it. Now, we've got policies and procedures in place, but the government contracting process, the government procurement process can take a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, I know that one place where it really showed the benefit of this was a couple of years ago when we had the sequester, and the government was shut down. And at that point, Air Force was scheduled to play here at Navy, and they were having a tough time getting here, their team.
Yes,
that was a government.
That was exactly right. Now, the Secretary of the Navy at the time, even though we are self-sufficient and government money was not being used on the Navy side to put on that game, the Secretary of the Navy was cognizant of the optics of it, if you will. Mm-hmm. So he said, hold on, we're going to review this. So we started the game Monday with my Monday morning game ops meetings down in the Jaeger Pavilion saying, hey, this is going to happen. Secretary of the Navy or the SecNav would say, hold on, wait a minute. And then we finally got approval. But Air Force had to find a way to get out here. And Chet Gladchuck had offered to pay for their transportation out here. But I want to say, I think maybe USA or somebody stepped up.
I think USA stepped up. They had a push to their alumni. Yes. And I also believe Delta turned around as a corporation.
But some of their staff, interesting stories, some of their staff were government employees
and couldn't come.
Travel. And so their training staff was hit hard. They actually reached out locally here in Maryland and got certified trainers, high school trainers, I believe, to come in and help. But that is the case that they were totally a government entity, And they were and most of their staff were government staff. So whenever there's a sequestration, all the military, non-essential, I should say, military and civilian employees of the academy get sequestered. We don't, because we're in AAA.
Right, independent there. The stadium here actually obviously hosts Navy football. It hosts Navy men's and women's lacrosse. It is the home stadium for now for the Chesapeake Bayhawks.
That's correct. In fact, they had a game Saturday night. They've got a game here this Sunday evening at 5 p.m. They've been playing here. They've been a tenant of ours for 10 years, been a great partner working with those guys. And in addition to that, you mentioned other things. We do the
military
Naval Academy. Well, the Naval Academy graduation commissioning ceremony is here. The president is here every 4 years, the vice president. We do the military bowl here. We've done that since, I think we're in our 7th year of that event. Navy's been fortunate enough to play in it twice and win twice. So we host that at the end of December. We host the Maryland Public High School State Football Championships here the first week in December, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We've got a great relationship with those guys.
I remember one July, I live across the other side of town, and I heard all this just rumbling, this drumming. I'm like, what the hell is that? We found out and looked over here. I could see the lights glowing. And
yes,
Drum Corps.
We've got Drum Corps International, which is an entity out of Chicago, and our partners with U.S. Bands out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, bring a DCI, Drum Corps International event here, usually the first or the last Tuesday in July, and they've been doing that for 4 years. That's been a great event. We do high school marching band competitions here. We had Travis Pastrana's.
Oh, that's right. Nitro Circus a couple years ago.
Was a great event. We had the NHL Stadium Series game here with the Caps and the Maple Leafs. We've had Major League Soccer. We had the DC United came over and played the Columbus Crew a couple of Aprils ago while they were waiting to get their stadium finished. So we've done a number of things. We've done some rugby here before. Army Navy rugby has been in here before. We are a full 12-month-a-year facility with events in the stadium, with events in the parking lot. We were talking about the Annapolis 10-miler. This Sunday we'll start and finish here. We've got banquet and hospitality space that we do reunions, wakes, business meetings, corporate meetings, retirement parties, wedding receptions, retreats, any number of things. We've got spaces for as small as 5 to 10 up to several hundred, if not more.
Well, I was looking at the website, and it's somewhat amazing. Like you say, you've got some of the smaller, we'll say like the suite levels that could handle a group of, as you said, 5 to 10 people. Maybe it's just an executive committee of a company that wants to get away and work for a day or something like that.
Yeah, we've had several government entities federal government entities out of D.C. will come over here. It's close enough for a high-level off-site retreat where they know they won't be bothered, but it's close enough to D.C.
to get in and out.
To get in and out, we do that quite frequently. And again, just any number of events in our hospitality space.
On the opposite end of that, you could rent the field, and I saw that you have a tented capacity of seating 6,500 people. I don't know that that's ever happened.
That has not happened, and with our new field, not sure that we would do it, but we never say never here on events. And if the event were right and the opportunity was right, we would definitely look
Does it make you cringe from a football perspective to put the commissioning ceremony on here?
Absolutely not. That is, part of who we are. We go with a multi-purpose field just for that. I mean, that commissioning ceremony, such a special event, does not make us cringe. And we've got stadium staff here, Preston Johnson and his crew do a great job of maintaining the field. But we've had that, commissioning week on a Friday, and the previous Sunday we've had NCAA lacrosse quarterfinals in here. So we're multi-purpose. We've got a good staff with the stadium staff and all the vendors that operate out here that we're able to do a number of events, on consecutive days or consecutive weeks. And going back to the point that we are not a government entity and we're self-sustaining, the stadium has to be self-sufficient. I'm charged with not only maintaining the stadium and the memorial, as it were, because
the stadium is a memorial. Let's not kid each other.
It is a memorial, but it costs a lot of money to maintain and operate a facility of this size. So we've got to be self-sufficient, and the stadium has to operate in the black, and that's why not only do we enjoy doing these events, these rental events, but they help sustain the memorial.
The improvements in the stadium, as we look across the field here, you've got the Ackerson Tower. Did I pronounce that right?
Ackerson Tower.
Ackerson?
The first phase
there should
of
be a
that
C in there if it's
yes.
Ackerson. Okay.
First phase of Ackerson Tower opened in 2010, my first year here, which was the middle part where we have 4 suites and the TV announce position for football and lacrosse opened in 2010. And then 2015, the actual club seating areas opened, and we added 2 more suites. And those, the Ackerson Tower is a 12-month-a-year facility. We do a number of dinners, reunions, parties as well up there. And in and around the football game, the Holy Cross game, will have a big event up there on Friday. Then we'll have an event pregame in there on Saturday, and then our ticket holders will come in as well. So it's very great space. Our donors that sit up there love it. The suite holders up there love that area, and it's been a great addition for football game day, and then for us from our hospitality side, for the rest of the time.
I know you host the Touchdown Club's banquet there.
Yes,
pretty much
Army
over there.
Navy, the Annapolis Touchdown Club has a reception up there. I think it's the Wednesday before Army Navy. They've historically done that.
And you've got the community meetings. I know Western Annapolis.
Yes, in fact, this upcoming Tuesday we'll have our Germantown, Homewood, Annapolis, our Admiral Heights neighborhood meeting up there. Chet likes to have a neighborhood meeting yearly just to meet with the neighbors. And
that's one thing I want to get a little bit off track here. That's one really good thing because you are one of the best neighbors in the city. I mean, I remember when Travis Pastrana was coming in. I mean, and I remember how hard you worked out to talk to the neighbors to address any noise concerns that they have. I know when the neighbors have ever had any kind of a complaint, you guys have come up and done it. I mean, but for such a facility that has the potential to be a bad neighbor, and I mean, you're an industrial facility, for lack of a better word. I mean, you're not residential. You're sort of nestled into this residential thing. You guys are a fantastic neighbor.
Yeah, and all the credit to Chet Gladchuck on that. He's very cognizant of the fact that we've got Admiral Heights right over there, and we've got Germantown, Homewood right there in these neighborhoods off Taylor Avenue, and the impact that full stadium events have on those neighborhoods. And we've got some really good feedback from them, and several years back we've started handing out magnets that have got the Stadium Operations Center number on it, that if you've got an issue on an event day, you can call that number and we can dispatch stadium staff, we can dispatch Annapolis Police if it's or the fire department if it's an issue of that magnitude, or if there's just something that we need to be made aware of. And then we also right now, if you were to call that number, it rolls over to my cell phone. So, Chet's vision is that if somebody sees something after hours and just wants to let us know that, hey, there's a problem, they can call and reach somebody.
That's fantastic.
And he's cognizant of it. So we handed out those we had some of our summer staff go out in the neighborhoods 3 summers and hand those out to the streets around the stadium, and we hand them out at the neighborhood meetings as well. And we've got through feedback, we've started putting the stadium calendar of stadium-wide events on our website, so folks can see. Most of the feedback we get is, hey, we understand that it's a stadium, and then when you have these full stadium events, it impacts us. But things that outside of Navy football that may not be on everyone's radar,
sure,
we need to know about. For example, the Annapolis 10-miler. Okay, well, hey, I know that if I need to run errands, I either got to do it after or whatever.
10 o'clock in the morning.
So, Chet's very good at wanting to push that information out, listening to those concerns, trying to do everything that we can to alleviate or eliminate a lot of those, understanding that, again, the Air Force game, we're going to have 38,000 people here. But, again, the neighbors have been good about that, saying, hey, we know about those events.
Yeah.
Keep us in the loop on, let us have a conduit to find out about these other events.
The other ones, sure.
And then also a conduit that we can reach out, we can pick up the phone and make a phone call.
Right. And bonus for them, they get to sell their parking. There are so many different places that you can have events here. I mean, you've got, like I say, the Ackerson Tower. You've got the Admiral Lawrence
banquet facility,
which can be gigantic or it can be fairly small.
Yeah, so it's one big room, or it can be subdivided into 2/3 space, 1/3 space, 3 separate spaces. It's multifunctional. We've got a full-service kitchen down there. We've got a catering company that runs that facility for us. We've got a list of preferred caterers that can operate in our other hospitality spaces. We've got the Jaeger Pavilion and the Mentor Pavilion as well, in Main and Market here in Annapolis. Does
my favorite place for brunch.
Yes, Land and Sea Catering does events out here. Mission Barbecue does a number of events out here. So between Bo Brooks, that runs our banquet facility, and our preferred caterers, we've got any number of options and combinations of food and beverage for any type of event. A lot of people have the misconception that you've got to be associated with the Naval Academy, or you have to be in the Navy or the military to rent space out here, and that's not the case. We do quite a few civilian events out here, and we're open for any type of event.
I mean, I remember seeing pictures of a wedding reception held here, and they were just Navy football fans. I knew neither of them had any connection to the academy or the military. They just wanted to get married here.
Yes.
Maybe they may have met here or something like that. I'm not absolutely sure.
And we do. In fact, I think Chris Morgenthaler, our associate AD for marketing, was telling me, I believe, that we were going to have a wedding reception at one of our games. I believe she said the Holy Cross game. There'll be a wedding reception taking place during the game I believe up in one of our class ring areas. So,
very
so
cool.
we do have, I thought that was cool. Two
cool.
football fans.
But, and there's really virtually no place in the stadium that you could not look to for an event, depending on the size of your person. I mean, you host the world's largest crab feast, is what they call it.
Yes,
every year.
My wife and I were fortunate enough to go to that. We've got a long-standing, that predates me, relationship with the Annapolis Rotary Club that runs that event, and then we also have a long-standing relationship with the Parole Rotary Club that does all the game day parking here for football games. And the neat thing about both of those clubs is all of the money that they raise goes back into the community. Right. And so, we're very happy to partner with both of those Rotary clubs.
It's the original recycling.
Yes, absolutely.
Take it out there. Well, I'll tell you, Bill Gibbons, who is the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Operations and Championships, I thank you for your time this afternoon. To find out about renting or possibly renting the facility or parts of it, NavySports.com would get you started.
Yes,
there.
Go to the staff directory and look me up, and my email and phone numbers in there. You can reach out. As you mentioned, we do. You basically hit the nail on the head. There's no part of the stadium that is not available to rent for the appropriate or the right event.
Right. Navy home opener, the 31st of August, 3:30, Holy Cross, right here at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium.
We'll be here before we know it. Looking at the long-term weather, we were talking about the heat earlier. The heat's going to break this weekend, and we're hoping next weekend will be a nice Saturday, late August Saturday here in Annapolis for the football game. So please come on out.
And also looking forward to 2020. It's a little bit of a unique game. We play Notre Dame every year on an agreement that goes back to World War II, I believe. And in 2020, they're going to be taking on Notre Dame in Dublin, Ireland again.
Yes. That'd be actually, I think it's the third time that we've played them over in Ireland. The second time in my time frame here at Aviva Stadium, where we played them in 2012. So we'll open the season with them next year in Dublin. For those of you that went to that game in 2012, heard a lot of great stories about it. A number of Navy.
The best stories you probably didn't hear anything about.
Yeah, the best stories. A lot of Navy and Notre Dame fans went over there. 35,000 Navy and Notre Dame fans went over there, and from an economic impact for the city of Dublin and the country of Ireland, it was huge. But great venue. Looking forward to that, to playing the Irish in Dublin.
And if you've ever had an inkling to go to Ireland, that would probably be a perfect week to do
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. You can tie your Irish vacation into Navy Notre Dame.
And wrapping up the season at the very end, it's not going to happen here again. It's up in Philadelphia again this year in the second Saturday in December, up at the Army-Navy game.
Yes, Army-Navy game, again, at Lincoln Financial Field, which, we always say we've played the game in other locations, but Philadelphia is truly the home of the Army-Navy game. Looking forward to going up there again. It's a great venue. The Eagles staff do a great job. The city of Philadelphia rolls out the red carpet. The people of Philadelphia as well. So it's we always look forward to it. A lot of people don't realize the amount of planning and logistics that are involved with it. We start planning that game. Typically, we'll play this game in December. We'll start planning the next game in January. And
I would think at least
have monthly meetings and phone calls with our counterparts at Army and the
And then they are moving it up in, I think, 2021. They're moving up to Meadowlands, aren't
yes,
they? Which is probably not called Meadowlands anymore.
Well, MetLife Stadium, Metropolitan Life Stadium, the anniversary of 9/11. We, again, are longtime fans. We remember back in 2010, we played Notre Dame there and won that game. So last time we were up there, we beat Notre Dame. It's a great venue. It's a great location. The Army-Navy game has, over the years, been played at the Meadowlands, not at this stadium, but the old Meadowlands Stadium.
Right.
So we're looking forward to that. The folks up at MetLife Stadium do a great job, and it'll be a great event in 2021.
Well, it's kind of neat that Army-Navy shifts around a little bit, not too much. I mean, it's sort of centric to Philadelphia. I know it's been here at FedEx Field several years ago, and then there's been some talk about moving out to San Diego at one point, but I don't know how that's...
And then we did 2 years in Baltimore.
That's right.
16 and 18, or 15 and 17.
That's right.
But so we have moved it around. We did it at FedEx in 2011, and all great venues. We do move it around a little, but the center of it all is in Philadelphia.
Before we go, what's your prediction on the season?
My prediction is we're going to see a turnaround. I'm saying I'm going to go with 8-4.
8-4. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to be bowl eligible.
Going to be bowl eligible. Can't tell you which bowl we go to. Would love to have them. Would love to have Navy back here in the
military bowl.
The military bowl, but that was the last bowl we've been in. I bet those guys would like to travel a little bit, but I think that we'll see a turnaround. I think that and we'll start it. The road to becoming winning those 8 games will start next Saturday with Holy Cross.
Fantastic. Again, August 31st, 3:30. Tickets are still available, NavySports.com. If you've never been to a Navy football game, definitely get out. Experience Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. Learn what you can about it. Learn about the battles that are written up on the walls and on the stanchions. Look at what the pavilions mean and what they signify. Have a great time. And we're going to see you at Navy football this year, 8-4. I'll talk to you in December on that one.
Anyway, thanks a lot, John. Thanks for coming out.
This has been an update from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And be sure to subscribe to our daily news brief podcast, which is delivered every Monday through Friday to your phone or device at 7 a.m.